Thank you, everyone. Honorable Mayor Benji Magalong, DOT CAR, RD Jovi Ganongan, Councilor Tabanda, and then distinguished members of the Baguio City Council and the regional directors of the Cordillera Administrative Region, and of course, the artists, the artisans, and the crafters and creators of Baguio. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very honored to be here. And it's really a joy to be here with all of you, surrounded by this space that holds so much potential to not only exhibit, but probably even inspire art. I'm impressed by the exhibition that I've seen, the installation, and the way that that was curated, because it not only exhibits the artwork, and as you will see later, it has the artists right behind them, and that's the first time that's one of the few times you see that happening. So you honor the artist with every artwork. Then looking around at each of the pieces, you really see that they are very expressive of the artist's personal vision and passion for their creative craft. Um, and to a great extent, the artwork gives us a glimpse of the inner world of the artist expressed concretely in images and sculptures. So now this Art in the Park event uh, gives us the opportunity to see what has been created indoors and now exhibited outdoors. But as I stand here, though, I can't help but think of another group of artists from many years ago who did the opposite. What they did was they painted outdoors, but they brought what they saw inside them and then brought it out again to give us a very different vision of the world. These artists have names like Vincent van Gogh, Claude Monet, and Georges Seurat, who love to paint outdoors, especially the gardens and parks of Paris and the countryside of France. In the era right before this group, who were called the Impressionists, actually, people could not paint outdoors. And the reason for that is that you actually had to mix the pigments, you had to crush the pigments, mix it in oil, and you had to do that in a studio. They were very sensitive and they took a long time to dry. So it took the invention in the early 1800s of the paint tube. We take it for granted now. But at that time, the paint tube was revolutionary. It allowed the artists to bring the paint outdoors. And actually, when they painted, it dried fairly quickly, faster than the paints that they would create in the studio. So for the very first time in the mid 1800s, artists could actually go outside, go to the gardens, go to the parks, and then leave the confines of their studio and paint outdoors. So they were capturing the vibrancy of natural light and the immediacy of life in the parks, its gardens, and the streets of Paris. So by painting their impressions of the world around them, they brought the outer world into their inner world, showing us what they perceived as important to capture on canvas, moment by moment, brushstroke by brushstroke, inviting us all to see what they saw, the world as they saw it. And as the light of day changed very fast, they had to capture their impressions very fast. And this is why they called themselves the Impressionists. They were painting very fast. But in doing so, in capturing the fleeting moments, they immortalized the city. They immortalized the city of Paris. One of my favorite, I love Broadway musicals. Carlos knows this. But one of my favorite Broadway musicals was written by Stephen Sondheim. And it's called Sunday in the Park with George. It's actually about one of the Impressionists, Georges Seurat, and his mad suffering while creating his pointillism masterpiece called Sunday Afternoon at the Isle of La Grande Jatte. So it was in a park that he painted this grand masterpiece. In the play, George sings, bit by bit, putting it together, piece by piece. It's the only way to make a work of art. Every moment makes a contribution. Every little detail plays a part. Having just a vision, no solutions, everything depends on execution. And for the Impressionists, the outdoors gave the vision, but the artist must bring it to life, bit by bit, piece by piece. Every leaf, every shadow, every reflection in the water, and the people, the moments that contribute to the story of the parks and gardens. But without the artist, the stories would have remained untold and the moments disappear uncaptured. Art isn't easy. Every brushstroke is a decision, and every angle, every color, every detail demands care and attention, but that's what makes it so powerful. Parks themselves are a form of art, designed, cultivated, and maintained with vision and precision and commitment. When artists take up their brushes to paint these spaces, they add another layer of creativity and connection, ensuring that the parks live not only just in our memory, but in works of art that can be shared throughout the generations. Now, I must say that Baguio is one of the luckiest cities in the Philippines because it has an abundance of well-maintained parks. And I've been around different cities as part of my project and part of my work. And I cannot emphasize how lucky the people of Baguio are. And I love visiting the parks of Baguio. As a runner, I love running through the parks of Baguio and see them at different times of day, from the very early morning and seeing the Zumba groups to even late at night and running through Wright Park with the fountain lights. I love the everyday beauty, the peace, and even the drama that you sometimes see in Burnham Park or Sunshine Park, Wright Park, and the Botanical Gardens, one of my favorites. And the parks are alive with the activity of Baguio residents and tourists alike. And Baguio parks are more than just green spaces. They are living and breathing canvases and opportunities for creativity, waiting to captivate and to be captured by creative minds. Baguio is very lucky to have a mayor who prioritizes the preservation and rehabilitation of the city parks. And you may not always be as fortunate to have this kind of administration. So this is why I implore that the artists of Baguio, you have a very important role of immortalizing your parks. So while you're exhibiting your artwork here, why not turn your brushes into capturing the beauty of Baguio's parks? I must admit that I rarely see this. Many years ago, I did live in Paris for a few years. And in the parks, you still see people actively painting the parks, capturing it on canvas. It's not just, cell phones and stuff. They take the time, they sit, and they capture. But I rarely see this in Baguio. I rarely see artists set up their canvas to capture the impressions of the park. And neither do I see permanent sculptures and permanent installations in the park. It's starting, but only quite recently. So where are the works that immortalize these spaces and these moments into places of inspiration? So imagine this. So imagine just a few years from now, Baguio artists painting everywhere and permanent art installations placed all around our parks. Art should be in every path and in every park. It should be at the picnic grounds, playing fields, and even at the boating lake of Burnham Park. And imagine art capturing the sunlight streaming through the trees in John Hay and the lights of the fountains in the Wright Park. Art preserving the quiet corners of the Botanical Garden, the forest trails in Camp John Hay, and even the small overlooked pocket parks on Leonard Wood and Pacdal Circle. Art should also capture especially the people of Baguio. The vendors, the buskers, the Zumba ladies, the children playing or fighting, the families boating, and the lovers strolling or quarreling and breaking up. Art immortalizes the mundane and the extraordinary, the chaos and the calm. I ask the Baguio artists, paint everything. Because when you create art, when you create the art of the parks, you honor their beauty, preserve their spirit, and inspire others to see them with new eyes. So I ask all of you, fill our parks with art and artists. Let's not limit ourselves to art in the park, which is once a year, or the chalk art of Session Road Sundays that disappears with Monday's traffic. Let's embrace the spirit of the Impressionists who found inspiration under open skies. Let's paint everywhere. Burnham Park, Sunshine Park, Wright Park, Botanical Gardens, and every small pocket park in between. Baguio's parks are waiting for their stories to be captured and immortalized. Let's pick up our brushes, bring out our canvases, and create the art of the parks. Together, we can put it all together, bit by bit, piece by piece, and create something extraordinary. Thank you.